So we had got as far as Maya meeting Finn. The boat driver from the Carters had taken Maya while everyone else had gone out to town, and they were beginning to chat, so I will carry on from there. The hut was just as Bernard Taverner had left it when he went out with an Indian friend to look for the blue water lily, whose leaves were used as a painkiller. His collecting boxes and specimen jars, his plant press and dissecting kit and microscope were all stacked neatly on his work table. His carpentry tools were hung carefully on the wooden wall. On the other side of the hut was the tackle from the boat. The khaki sheet still lay folded on his hammock, as though he expected to return to sleep that night. And in the shelves made from palmwood plants were rows of old books. Books on natural history, books on exploration, and the well-known classics. But the book that lay open on the table with a marker was Caesar's Gallic Walls in Latin, and as he looked at it, Finn sighed. He made me promise to go on with Latin, whatever happened. He said there was nothing like it for sharpening the mind. But it's difficult on one's own. Yes, Maya nodded. Everything's difficult on one's own. But she thought she had never seen a place she liked more. The hut was spotlessly clean with a slight smell of wood smoke and the watery scent of the reeds coming in through the window. There was a small oil stove and a sink, but she could see that mostly the boys cooked outside on the stone fireplace built on a spit of land that ran between the hut and the sandbank. You must have been very happy here, you and your father. Yes, we were. I used to wake up every morning and think, here I am, exactly where I want to be. And there aren't many boys who can say that. I thought of waking up in those awful English boarding schools with the bells ringing, he said. He took her outside and showed her his oven, the place where the turtles laid their egg, the bottle full of sugar water that he filled each day for the hummingbirds, just as his father had done. We've had about 20 different kinds on that one tree, he said. His bow and arrow were hung on a branch, but she had seen a rifle too, propped under a windowsill. Do you see that? He said, pointing at some marks in the sand. That's an anteater. He comes down at night to have a drink. His father had planted a simple garden, manioc and maize and a few sweet potatoes, protected by a wire fence. It's difficult keeping the animals out and keeping it weeded, he said. It looks fine, all of it, replied Maya. She waved her hand over the hut, the boat, the lagoon. It looks like a place where one would want to stay forever and ever. He gave her a startled glance. Yes, but I can't stay. I'm going on a journey. Oh. For a moment, Maya was devastated. She'd only just met him and now he was going away. I'm going to go and find the Zanti, he told her. She waited. They're my mother's tribe. She was Indian. My father brought her here when she died. My father brought her here and she died when I was born. I promised him that if anything happened to him, I'd go there. He said they'd keep me safe till I was of age and then no one would make a fuss of me to go back to Westwood. But now the crows have come. He trailed off. How will you go? Asked Maya. In the Arabella, he replied, as soon as the dry season starts properly. The rivers in the north are still flooded now, but it won't be long. They clambered over the boat together, and it was clear that she was the apple of his eye. She was a steam launch, rakish and sturdy, with a tall copper funnel and an awning running the length of the deck. My father got her cheap from a rubber baron who had gone bankrupt. She can do 5 knots when she's in a good mood. Can you manage her on your own? Asked Maya. Just about, he replied. You have to have a lot of wood chopped at the beginning of the day, and then you go on pretty steadily. It can be difficult because there aren't many reliable maps for the last part of the journey. I have to go by what my father remembered. Maya put her hand on the tiller. 5 minutes ago she had wanted to stay in this lagoon forever. Now, just as much, she wanted to go and make this journey with Finn. To go on and up the unknown rivers, not getting there, just going. But now the dog, who had been following them silently, jumped back ashore and made his way to the door of the hut, which he pushed open with his snout. He's telling us it's time for afternoon tea, said the boy. Maya looked at him to see if she was joking, but he wasn't. Afternoon tea was exactly what Finn now produced. He put on the kettle, warmed the teapot, took down a tea caddy and measured out 3 spoonfuls of Earl Grey. Then he found a plate filled with biscuits, proper ones with sultanas and raisins. He put out the sugar tongs and a milk jug. He even handed her a napkin. They might have been any British drawing room. The dog waited. He only drinks China tea, said Finn, putting down a saucer and adding a spoonful of sugar. If you give him anything else, he looks at you. While they ate and drank, he made polite conversation, asking her how she liked Manus and whether her friend was still upset about the play. Clovis, do you mean? Yes, he is. But how do you know everything? She asked him. He shrugged. The Indians hear and they tell me. The cleaner in the theatre is old Lila's cousin. When they had finished and swilled out the cups, he said, Right, I suppose I'd better explain. I think I might need your help, you see. Maya looked at him, flushed with pleasure. I'll do anything, she said. Just like that, he asked, even though I'm on the run? Yes, she responded. Finn grinned. They said you weren't like the porkers. The porkers? Asked Maya. That's what the Indians call the twins, he responded. You know, little fat pigs that snuffle and eat. Maya tried to look shocked and failed. Are they as bad as people say, he asked. Maya sighed and stopped trying to be good. Yes, she said. It would be lovely if they were pigs. One could get really fond of pigs. We'll go outside, said Finn. The mosquitoes are fairly quiet at this hour. So they sat side by side on the wooden deck outside the hut, and Finn told her the story of his father's marriage. When he came out here, my father was just 17. He had been absolutely wretched in England, but as soon as he came out here, he knew it was the place for him. At first, he had no money or anything, but he found he could live by collecting plants and berries people needed for medicines and selling them to traders in Manaus. He made friends with the Indians and learnt their languages, and they taught him their skills. For nearly 10 years, he lived like that, exploring the rivers, building his hut. The awful memories of England only bothered him at night when he was dreaming. He was sure he had got away. Finn was silent, looking out over the lake. Then one day he went a very long way, not in the Arabella, in the canoe, and he fell ill with a fever, one of the really awful ones, and he passed out. When he came round, he was with the Zanti. He'd heard of them. They were supposed to be special, very gentle and full of knowledge about healing, but they were very shy and mostly stayed hidden. Not many people had seen them. He said waking up there was like waking up in paradise. The kind, quiet people, the dappled trees. One girl in particular nursed him. Her name was Yara. And when he was better, the Zanti let her marry him, which was an honour. He brought her back here, but when I was due to be born, the English doctor wouldn't come out to an Indian woman, and in the night she died. He paused. After that, he didn't have much to do with his own people. He found Lila to nurse me, and we got on all right, though I think he never got over my mother's death, but we were good friends. His voice faltered for a moment. I can stay here and live as he did, finding medicine, selling stuff to museums, lots of things. But he said if anyone came for me from England, I was to fight for my life. I was to go back to the Zanti. He never went back himself, but he said the tribe would know me, and he turned his wrist to show the mark that she had noticed in the canoe. The trouble is, I've got to get away without being seen, and the crows seem to be everywhere, and no one knows how long they're going to stay around and hunt. The Indians won't give me away, but it's a big reward they're offering, and there are people in Manus who are very poor. You said perhaps I could help you? Asked Maya. Yes, I've got an idea, but I don't know if it will work. He pulled the dog closer and began to scratch his ear. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to, Maya said quickly. I'll help you anyway. It isn't that, he responded. It's just, I haven't thought out the details yet. And anyway, it doesn't depend only on me. What I'd like you to do now is to tell me about your friend, about Clovis. Where did you meet him? What is he like? So, Maya told him about meeting Clovis on the boat, how homesick he was and how upset he'd been about his voice breaking. All he wants to do is to get back to England. He says he's going to stow away. It won't work, he told her. They searched the boats with a fine-toothed comb. People kept trying to smuggle rubber out of seedlings so they could grow them elsewhere, which would kill off the rubber trade here. He's sure to be caught. That's what Miss Minton said Maya. Ah, yes, Miss Minton. What does she think of Clovis? Asked Finn. I think she likes him a lot. Yeah, I'm sure she does. He does cry rather a lot, but he's decent, Maya replied. Well, I suppose he would be if he's your friend. They sat for a while in companionable silence. Then Finn said, You don't happen to know Miss Minton's Christian name? Maya screwed up her face thinking. She never uses it, but it begins with an A, I think, because she lent me her handkerchief in the cab and there was an A embroidered in the corner. Finn nodded. Good, he said. I thought it might. Furrow's canoe now appeared through the reeds, and Maya said quickly, What I don't understand is how they can make you go back to Westwood. You're only a child. They don't lock up children in prisons. Finn slapped a mosquito at his arm. They do at Westwood, Westward they lock you up as soon as you're born.